Dr. Miller here, and I want to talk just a few moments about, I've been reading a lot of statistics, a lot of studies, and they just get alarming. And rather than flood your feed all at once with all kinds of stuff, I am hitting one or two of these every day. So if you like the information that you're hearing, follow us on Facebook, do a like and subscribe. If you want to get these things all en masse, go to our YouTube, Integrated Health of Indiana. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, you'll get the notifications. By now, everybody knows what the procedure is. But an interesting question. I was watching Callie Means be interviewed by, I believe he was being interviewed by Dr. Hyman. And the statement was, or the question was, why do Americans have the earliest puberty rate of children in the world? And then he started to answer it because of our endocrine disrupting foods and the chemicals that are in our foods and in the environments. And I'm going to take just a second to flesh that out. In the 1940s, they discovered that when they administer subtherapeutic, subclinical doses of antibiotics to cattle, that the cattle actually increased weight when compared 10% to peer groups. So, if you're a cattle farmer and you're increasing your product by 10% by using a little antibiotic, hey, it's a good business practice. So in the 40s, they started injecting cattle with antibiotics. And I think they even put it in feed. Don't hold me to that. But let's think about what this is starting to do. You will have residue or residuals in the meat. Also, the meat won't be as nutritious when you are trying to create mass that way, because the animal's microbiome changes. So you're not going to get the same, just like as in us, you're not going to get the same amount of short chain fatty acids. You're not going to get the goodness that these little bugs produce and then impart into the meat. We also don't eat all of the animal. There are studies, or if they look to the Inuit, or they look to the Eskimos, what do they eat when they get a kill? They eat what they call the offal, or the organ meats. And if they have a lot, then they give the proteins, the muscle, they give that to the dogs. They eat the liver, the heart, all of that stuff they eat first, because it is more nutrient dense and it helps supply or support the body. Now, we don't do that in this day and age. That's why, I don't know if that's why it's called awful or not. But in 2012, the New York University School of Medicine actually confirmed this association of antibiotic use, especially early antibiotic use, and weight gain. And that was done in 2012. So not only are they doing that to chickens and cows, they do it to hogs, they do everything. And so they can absolutely find residual hormones and residual antibiotics and stuff in the milk, in the eggs, in the meat, all of that stuff. So you can't think that this is not going to do anything to us. If you go back and look at historical data on how big people have gotten, and I'm not talking about big as in weight. I'm talking about 6 foot tall and massive that way. If you go look at, sidebar here, Jessica and I do a lot of traveling, and we go to a lot of historical sites. And if you're in Indiana, you can go right over to Ohio and visit some wonderful historical sites. Walk in and out of their doors. Those people were all 5'5" and below. I mean, Abraham Lincoln was a giant, and he'd be a giant by this day and age. he was also an outlier. But most people weren't 6 foot tall. They were all in that mid to low fives, and that was typical. There is an association, a correlation, that as we started to drink milk, that we got larger, and this is before the 40s. But then we have gotten larger, and then now larger, um, not to our benefit, but to our detriment. So think about this. So if they're eating hormones, and you can take a chicken from hatchling to slaughter in, I don't know. I know it's less than a year, but they pump them so full of hormones that it's crazy. But they take them from hatchling to slaughter in less than a year. And as you do that, what happens to the hormones? Well, think about this. We now have 12-year-olds starting their menses, and that's pretty normal. So girls are getting their periods before they're even in their teens. And being the father of 3 daughters, my girls all were starting to go through puberty early 13 and on. That was still early, and they're all in their 20s. And when I speak to my sisters, and when I spoke to my mom when she was alive, they didn't get those things until they were 14, 15, 16. So in the world, we had the earliest puberty rates. I right now, we are seeing a lot of stuff that talks about the science. What has science gotten us? And science has gotten us huge advantages. It's helped increase life expectancy. I mean, we really haven't gotten much more health since we started paying attention to cleanliness and indoor plumbing and getting sewer off the streets and all of that stuff. We don't die from infectious diseases. That, hands down, our medical system has done that. And so we have applied all of this novel stuff, and now we are starting to reap what we have sown, which is youngest puberty rates in the world, both men and women. We are having girls who are having problems with their periods from the get-go. And what do? We immediately put them on more hormones. We put them on the pill. And what has that gotten us? Now we're to a point where we're having fertility crises. We're seeing that in our practice, where women's hormones are so screwed up. Now, luckily, knock wood, we haven't had any problems with getting women to conceive. Typically that's a pretty young, I say young now, in their 20s and 30s, but we're seeing a very young population, and their bodies are very resilient and come back very quickly. But if we keep going down this path, what's going to happen to my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren? And that's what I worry about, because we are seeing drastic changes in all age groups. The good thing is there seems to be kind of a renaissance of old ways, and we see how people are doing regenerative farming. They're getting away from the hormones and all the antibiotics and all this, that, and the other. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying if your livelihood is cattle that you shouldn't take care of the animals, but giving them regular doses of antibiotics, giving them antibiotics in their feed, it literally is killing all of us, Because if it's not decreasing our microbiome and causing us issues, then eventually it will cause problems in that we are also microdosing superbugs. And we've all heard about the antibiotic resistant strains. Well, they didn't used to be around, and now they are. And why? Here's a good question to go look up, and I challenge you to do so. Who is the most prolific user of antibiotics? What industry uses the most antibiotics? And the answer might actually surprise you. So once again, I don't mean to be doom and gloom. The great thing is the human body is designed to adapt and overcome. It's very forgiving. You can do a lot of stupid stuff and it'll come back. Even at my age of 50, going on 55, I started exercising again, and I'm already seeing I still got a little bit of the turkey waddle going on. I don't know if I'll get rid of it all, but I'm starting to see that stuff go down. I've been able to free up my time so I can do more working out, and I can get on the bike again, and I can get outside. And those are the things that our body needs. Once again, I'll just hit it real quickly. There are 5 pillars to health: sleep, nutrition, movement, stress, and community. If you've done enough damage, like you have Alzheimer's or dementia, Parkinson's, or something like that, I start to break that out into 8 pillars, because now they start to talk about toxicity. They start to talk about, blood, and they basically take what nutrition and exercise globally affect, and they break it into its nuance, because there's a lot of cleanup that needs to happen. But once again, if you are interested or need help, that's what we're here to do. But if you're just doing this for information, yeah, get your kids away from sodas, get your grandkids away from sodas. There's nothing redeemable in that. Start teaching them how to cook. Let them help you with food prep so they get interested in it. Take them grocery shopping. See what they would like to try. Even if you don't know how to fix it, I am sure that you can go on to either ChatGPT or you can go onto Google and figure it out. But get your loved ones away from the conventional foods. And I'm not even talking about processed foods. That's not even in my lexicon or discussion. That stuff is gone. I'm talking about get yourself away from all the foods that are laden with hormones, and take it in steps. If you still are super dependent on packaged foods, then yes, that's where you start. But once you get rid of that, then you can start to clean up. You can start to worry about the quality of the food that you eat. Y'all have a great day. We're here at Integrated Health of Indiana to help you. We do chiropractic, we do shockwave, we do functional medicine, we do acupuncture, we do detox foot baths. We help you take care of the entire body. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.